Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Grimcoven, and this is 20 late pledges for you to check out. This is taking the place of our 2-back and on-to-back that usually goes up every single Monday. Last week was probably our last 2-back and on-to-back of the year. We'll see how things go, but I'm thinking it's going to be that way. Next week will be in the middle of our top 100 series, assuming things are on schedule. There's a whole lot of assuming going on here. Assuming, maybe, we'll see. But either way, this video is 20 late pledges for you to check out. Just when you thought your wallet was safe, once in a while we do these videos where we take a look at the campaigns you may have missed out on the time. Maybe you didn't know about them, maybe you didn't have the budget for them, maybe you looked into them more since then, but here are 20 campaigns you can still late pledge. As usual, disclaimer that I check these out, but I do these videos a little in advance, which means sometimes things change, or maybe I just got them wrong, so once in a while there's one of these that you can't actually late pledge, and I just told you can, but hopefully these are right. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into them. As usual, timestamps down below. We're going to be going fairly quickly through these. These are all campaigns we've covered on the channel. We're just going through them right now. All of these are new to the late pledge series, except for one. There's one that I decided to go ahead and call out, despite the fact that I've already done it on a late pledge video, just because I think the late pledge is ending soon. And so either way, let's go ahead and start off. We're going to be starting off with 20 Strong Tanglewoods. This is the newer version of Tanglewoods of 20 Strong from Chip Theory Games. 20 Strong launched with 3 decks a while ago, very popular. They now have Tanglewoods, which is a series of 3 decks from this world of Magnate. They've already announced that they're going to be doing 20 Strong Nemesis, although you can't get that here. You could get 20 Strong Cloudspire in their Cloudspire campaign. I think the late pledge for that actually is opening up as well by the time you watch this video, although it's not actually in this video. But 20 Strong Tanglewoods is a solo game that's going to play in generally around 45 minutes to an hour, although it depends, and also you could lose quicker. So you could definitely lose quicker, but it's going to give you a solo experience. You could head-to-head with 2 players, not head-to-head, you could play 2 players just making decisions together, but effectively you're going to be operating as a Little Red Riding Hood, wandering through the woods over here, trying to take down the big bad wolf and the various wolf iterations and the various enemies all along the way, while you try to bulk up and upgrade your character. That, at least specifically, is Tanglewoods Red. There's Tanglewoods Red, White, and Gold. There's 3 different decks with 3 different systems over here. I only had the chance to play 20 Strong Tanglewoods Red, the base one or whatnot, so you can go ahead and check these out, see if they're for you, but if you like solo puzzles, solo adventures, these are going to give you a bunch of solo gameplay to go through in a charming world with excellent art by Manny Tremblay. Moving on, we have Hive, over on Hive, we have, and disclaimer, usual disclaimer, please take into account, I work for GameFound. Most of these late pledges are going to be on GameFound by the nature of GameFound showing their late pledges. Hive does as well, which is why I browse Hive and GameFound generally for these listings. As any late pledge platform that publicly shows them for you to browse are campaigns that I'll be looking through for late pledges. Anyways, moving on to A Wayfarer's Tale over here. A Wayfarer's Tale is going to be the big box version of the previous roll and write game. Coming to you from Wayfarer Games, they previously had A Wayfarer's Tale, which is a print-and-play roll and write, and I think this is the first time I'm aware of it, that they took a print-and-play roll and write and then made it into a full boxed experience. The game was received well enough, great art, great production, great gameplay, that they made a full boxed experience out of this. So if you saw this briefly and you were like, oh, that's a roll and write reprint, I don't need that, well, this is actually a boxed version. So in case you found the gameplay intriguing, you can go ahead and get an actual full game of it here. We have Ascension Legends from Stoneblade Entertainment, the newest big box version of Ascension, or the newest standalone version, Ascension Legends, both for newcomers and oldcomers to the series. Is that oldcomers? Newcomers and veterans. That sounds like a much better term than newcomers and oldcomers. But Ascension Legends is the newest way to go ahead and dive into Ascension, and they also repackaged everything, so you have all these accessible, smaller box versions of Ascension, where you can get basically everything without buying the same duplicated cards again and again and again at a budget-friendly price. Or budget-friendly is a relative term, but coming in at $400 for basically all the Ascension you can possibly dream of, that is budget-friendly adjacent. Again, we live in a crazy world where $400 all-ins are now considered to be budget friendly. Then again, that's my problem. I called it budget friendly, but compared to buying all the Ascensions on their own, this is budget friendly. Ascension's been around for 10 plus years by now, so I think it's 10 plus years. I'm pretty sure it's 10 plus years, but that's a long history of Ascension, and it's $400 for 10 plus. That's $40 a year. That's nothing. Is that math right? Yeah, it's $40 a year. That's not a lot of money. Moving on, we have Above and Below Haunted from Red Raven Games. Above and Below Haunted is the re-implementation of Above and Below, the 10-year anniversary of Above and Below, bringing you revised gameplay and tweaks to the system from Red Raven Games. It's the opportunity to go ahead and dive into it, to get the game, to get the original, I think you can get the original. Am I right about that? Can you get the original? There you go. You can get the original over here. You can also get various expansion products. You can get the Foreteller. You get the deluxe coins, the first player figure, Azrium role-playing game book. There's a whole bunch of things in this world of Azrium you can get from Red Raven Games in Above and Below Haunted. There's Beast Shattered Isles, which is still available to late pledge. This is an older one, which we haven't covered in our late pledge series, but it's definitely worth covering because Beast is a fantastic game, and Beast Shattered Isles was more content for a fantastic game, giving you more experience in this hidden movement game, in this one versus many hidden movement game where one player plays as the Beast and the other player plays the Hunters. You can also play as 1 versus 1 with players controlling multiple Hunters as you go ahead and draft cards, trying to figure out the right combination of cards, but being mindful of what you pass to the Beast in this game. Then go on a hunt across the island while the Beast occasionally pops up to accomplish their goals, and while you try to slowly take out the Beast because you're trying to hunt the guy down, and he's turning in all different kinds of directions, but he has to rear his ugly head here and there with vastly asymmetrical Beasts, vastly asymmetrical Hunters, and a lot of drafting. This is one of my favorite, my second favorite hidden movement game. We have Circle the Wagons Second Shot, recently funded over on Kickstarter. This is going to be the expansion to Circle the Wagons, standalone and combinable, so you have both of those things in one of my favorite two-player games from Buttershy Games. I think Skulls of Southwick is my favorite two-player game, but from Buttershy specifically. Circle the Wagons is probably my second favorite. I'd have to look through them, but I'm pretty sure it's my second favorite two-player game from Buttershy Games. Definitely in my top 5 Buttershy games. I think Circle the Wagons is excellent, and I was excited to see this come back to crowdfunding, not just the reprint to make it available again, but with more content, so you can go ahead and mix and match with your Buttershy game for even more content in case you want to do the giant, there's a whole variation you can play where you just combine all together and go through multiple rounds in this giant Circle the Wagons mashup, which I'm definitely going to be trying. We have Cyberpunk 2077, the board game. From Go On Board. This funded incredibly well, the most funded tabletop game of 2024, if I'm not mistaken. We have Cyberpunk 2077, the board game, with $8.5 million funded, with 61,000 people following, 26,000 people back the campaign. This is bringing you a real-time gameplay to your table, real-time strategy in both solo and cooperative play, as you hit that timer and then go charging through the halls, taking on the various baddies along the way, trying to accomplish your mission goals. If you ever played Project Elite, this is going to feel very similar to that. It's going to give you that high-tension gameplay where you alternate between strategy and then 2-minute rounds of timers, although in this game it's not necessarily 2 minutes. It is variable depending on what you're doing, but basically you have alternated short timer rounds as you quickly flip through your cards, trying to upgrade your character, move around, take down the bad guys, make sure to roll as the bad guys attack you, making sure to try to basically accomplish your mission goals, far more importantly than just taking out enemies, but taking out enemies will also give you upgrades, so there is a lot to consider as you charge through this game. Cyberpunk 2077, very much looking forward to this one. I've had a chance to play this one, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's one that it definitely has real time, so it is real time. We have to know whether that works for you or not. For me, real time is something I always enjoy and usually don't keep. Project Elite is the exception as a game that I keep, and I think Cyberpunk 2077 will be joining that because it's very, very similar vibes to Project Elite. We have a Deliverance over on Hive. Deliverance Council of the Fallen is the expansion and campaign to basically Deliverance from Lone Games. Deliverance is going to be a skirmish game which you are controlling a bunch of angels as you go ahead and take on a variety of demons until you eventually take down the giant prince, trying to upgrade your character throughout the game. There's also a campaign mode in that, and Council of the Fallen expanded upon all of that. It gave you more angels, more demons, more enemies, more princes. It also gave you a full-fledged campaign to go through. It gave you one thing I really enjoyed is it gave you kind of campaign-like missions, but in the single shot mode. So you kind of had a more nuanced mission as opposed to just move around and kill things. There's actually a sequence of move here, go there, close that gate, take down that prince, but giving you and that's kind of the campaign gameplay, but it does so while giving you the single shot upgrading, so you don't have that longer tail growth, but you have all that, look how fast and quickly I'm powering up in this single session. That's my favorite way to play Deliverance currently. Deliverance Council of the Fallen from Lone Games, an excellent game. We have Euthia Cruel Frost from Steamforge. This is the opportunity to get in on the, I don't know if they officially says the final campaign. They said returning with its chilling climax, which sounds like the final campaign, but it's not technically a game. It's not technically a guarantee. I don't really know what. Either way, we'll see. Perhaps the final campaign for Euthia from Steamforge Games, bringing you the full trifecta of giant boxes from them. Euthia that was once upon a time from a different company, then Steamforge picked it up and started doing expansion content with it and reprints and bringing it back to life, saving the campaign effectively, saving the game. And Euthia Cruel Frost is the final culmination of that series. I mean, again, they're calling it a climax. That's got to mean it's the final culmination, right? I'm pretty sure it does. But you can go and check this out. This is giving you Mage Knight adjacent gameplay. Basically, it's an adventure game. It's an adventure game. You control a character, you power up, you wander around the board, you interact with various things, possibly including interacting with the other characters in the game, and occasionally engaging in combats with them or with the NPCs that populate this world. That's Euthia Cruel Frost from Steamforge Games. We have Food Chain Magnate. This is the one that I have featured in one previous late pledge video before, but Food Chain Magnate Special Edition from Lucky Duck Games, $2 million raised. This is one that is definitely, especially if you tapped out of this campaign at the beginning, it is worth noting that they got a lot of feedback on the pledge levels, and they did introduce an intermediate pledge level effectively, because they have the Deluxe Edition pledge for €179, they have the Collect pledge for $299, and the base only for $159. That Deluxe Edition was something that people asked for, basically. They wanted that, that that additional option to kind of get a hybrid of the two pledges. I believe that's that, if I recall correctly. Big Kemet expansion with new artwork, and yeah, this was the one that was asked for as a kind of hybrid model, giving you the new content with the new art, but not necessarily all the new miniatures and everything. So giving players potentially what they wanted for those who wanted the new everything, but without the new blinged out miniatures everything. And so you have different options to go ahead and jump in on this game. But Food Chain Magnate from Lucky Duck, a once in a I want to say lifetime. I don't know if it's coming back. I don't know what the plan for this is. They made it clear this is definitely an exception. I think they said, like, I can't remember if they said this is only crowdfunding or if they said this is only the only campaign period, but this is a collaboration between Splotter and Lucky Duck to bring you a massively successful game with a definite deluxe reprint with the completely over-the-top components, revised artwork, revised everything. Not revised everything. The gameplay is the same, but that is Food Chain Magnate, a classic game available from Lucky Duck Games, still available to late pledge. Then we have over on Hive, we have Galactic Cruise. Galactic Cruise coming to you from Kinson Key Games. This is for Dranda Games backers. Pledge Manager now open for Dranda Games backers. What am I missing out on? I feel like I'm missing out on something. I feel like I missed the Dranda Games backers because they're Kinson Key. Dranda Games is a different company. This does look available to late pledge, but I might be missing something over here because it says for Dranda Games backers specifically by Dranda Games. I feel like I'm missing something, so like asterisk on this one. I apologize. I only just saw that part now. But Galactic Cruise from Kinson Key Games, launched on Kickstarter to massive success from a first-time creator, doing incredibly well because they put the work in. They put the legwork in. They designed a great game. They made sure they had great art and production. They made sure to do the rounds at all the conventions. They made sure to be public, very publicly available, and showing their stuff on Facebook and whatnot. So they definitely did put themselves out there and brought their project to life and managed to do an incredibly successful campaign because of that. And this is featuring very Lacerda-like gameplay in terms of that heavy Euro aspect as you basically manage a Galactic Cruise. You're going to be trying to build spaceships, upgrade those spaceships, gather crew, trying to get a ton of upgrades in the game as you manage your resources, as you place your workers at different locations, being mindful of the connection points between locations, and possibly having to pay other people to access those connection points, all while you try to engage in all the various worker placement actions in this game. Definitely a nice midway to heavyweight Euro, I think leaning closer to heavyweight Euro, but one that will be very satisfying to those who appreciate that genre of gameplay. We have Grimcoven from Awakened Realms, $4 million raised. Awakened Realms brought you Grimcoven, a boss battler experience, bringing you a single-shot kind of campaign, but a single-shot, not campaign, can't say single-shot campaign, a single-shot game which you're going to be facing off against these bosses over here, going through the bosses, choosing the combination of enemies, the bosses, the domain you're facing off against, the randomized cards that will populate the domain, so you have a unique experience every single time in this kind of roguelite boss battler experience as you upgrade your character across the 2 to 3 hours of gameplay, but meanwhile, all the bosses powering up as well, you're trying to figure out how to take them out, take them down, trying to gather the right upgrades for your vastly asymmetrical characters in this, leading into a bit of a Bloodborne style vibe, but bringing it to the tabletop. Grimcoven is one that's definitely worth checking out if you're looking for a boss battler, roguelite, upgrading your character kind of experience. We have Kemet Rise of the Gods from Matago, doing incredibly well with $1 million raised on Kemet Rise of the Gods, bringing you both the Rise of the Gods expansion, as well as a big box, as well as kind of all the Kemet content for you. This is your opportunity to jump into one of the best area control games ever released. Kemet is a game full of powers and abilities left, right, and center. The game just gives you tons of stuff that will just make you continuously powerful across, I think we're up to 7 different power lines. I think we're up to 7. I have to double check. Maybe it was 6. But we have the red, blue, and white classic power lines from the original Kemet representing offense, defense, and economy. Then you have the black power line that gives you the kind of hybrid model. Then we have the leaning into the necromancy of the whatever, God, I can't remember the name of the expansion, but whatever the green sacrificial power line. And then we had 2 new powers, that's 5 so far. And then we had 2 new power lines in this expansion, leaning into the ancient powers of what you might have seen in the Seth expansion, retweaked and retooled to being into a regular multiplayer experience, and then an entirely new power line as well of the Amber, if I recall correctly, but all of those into bringing you new powers to Kemet, so you have a ton of ways to play this game, forcing you to constantly re-examine the right combinations of powers depending on the powers in any given game state. Combine that with the various gods that the game is going to give you, and you just have a ton of gameplay content in this Kemet game. Check this out over here. Moving on over here, we have Parks and Potions. Parks and Potions launching over on Kickstarter. This one gives you a little bit of a set collection kind of game. Gather resources, use them towards these cards over here, offering lighter, accessible gameplay. Overall did fairly well. It has that visual appeal to it, and the combining and mixing of, here we go, okay, Grant Lyon. Combining and mixing is a fun, unique way of resource management. The game looked very charming, very appealing, leaning into that kind of Gateway Plus kind of vibes, but overall looked very charming and appealing, which I think I said charming and appealing 7 times, which means time to move on to Rumble Planet. Rumble Planet is a game that gives you a battle battle royale style kind of gameplay. The basic idea over here is you're going to be dropped into this map over here, and then you're going to be trying to gather various weapons and gear across the map, take out various players, respawning as needed, being mindful of your gear running out and breaking, and basically trying to be the best person in this battle royale gameplay as you deal with the equipment, the gear, upgrading, and all of that. Overall, looks charming. I'm intrigued by the game because, like, well, in common in general, I'm intrigued by, but I'm intrigued by the gameplay because it looks like the kind of game that I would enjoy, but also battle royale as a gameplay concept hasn't yet actually delivered a win for me, so it's definitely like a high degree of interest, but a little bit of wariness for me personally. Moving on, we have Season 5 of Sleeve Kings. Season 5 of Sleeve Kings, if in case you missed the opportunity to go ahead and get Sleeve Kings, Sleeve Kings is the brand of sleeves that I personally use. I find it's the best combination of price point and quality. It's above those penny sleeves that are usually 40 microns thick. Gives you 60 micron sleeves, which at a very reasonable price point, in fact, at penny sleeve costs, and it isn't the 80 to 100 microns that sometimes are too thick, but more importantly are more expensive. I've personally found that across, I want to say, like 4 or 5 years of using Sleeve Kings, they are currently my go-to sleeve, where I like the quality. They're not the best quality, but considering the amount of stuff I sleeve, they are a good hybrid degree of quality and price point, so I definitely recommend checking them out. This is, again, I've been showing them out since I used them from the very first campaign, and I'm a big believer in their sleeves, and I recommend them. Moving on, we have Shallow Sea. Shallow Sea coming to you from Bad Comic Games. This is one I haven't had a chance to try. I actually just played Wondrous Creatures. It's actually on the table over there behind me, but in general, Bad Comic's a fascinating company, because they started with Shao Leo or whatnot, which I backed and tried and thought was fine. Then they continued that with whatever their next one was, which I wasn't super impressed by. I didn't love at all. And then they follow that up with Life of the Amazonia, which is great, and Wondrous Creatures, which is even better. I have not tried Shallow Sea yet. I am very intrigued, but so far their last 2 games have been absolutely great, and I'm a huge fan of Wondrous Creatures. Very, very, very big fan of that one. And Life of the Amazonia is very, very, very good. So I'm curious where Shallow Seas will find itself, but in general, as a company, they've done a great job at kind of going from this random game that's completely different to the kinds of games they produce now, to these kinds of puzzly combination games. So it's all about point scoring, maximization, optimization, giving you that puzzle to play through in a reasonable time frame, although granted Wondrous Creatures can run a bit long. But either way, this is Shallow Sea. This is their newest game over on Hive, in case you want to check that out. Moving on, we have The Bad Karmas and the Curse of the Zodiac. This is, and the Curse of Cthulhu. The Bad Karmas and the Curse of Cthulhu. This is the follow-up to The Bad Karmas and the Curse of the Zodiac. This is going to be the Teru system, which you're basically playing on a game board that's going to run the boss for you. So if you are interested in a boss battler experience, but one in which the boss is basically has their own AI, has their own way that they operate. Every boss is going to be different. You're going to have to learn their ins and outs, but you don't actually have to manage them. You don't have to, in fact, you barely have to learn any rules at all. It's basically plug and play. You go ahead, open the game, open the app, set some things up, and then just follow the basics over there as you manage your characters, grow their decks, use their abilities, try to power up, all while taking down the bosses in this game where all the rules are kind of managed for you. You literally get the game, set it up, ready to go. It is the most successful boss battler you will ever play, not necessarily from a price standpoint, but from an ease of play standpoint, and it also has a LAN feature. If you have multiple friends who have this game, you can kind of play remotely while the game knows what's going on and translates it for you on both sides. So it's a tabletop LAN party, which is a fascinating concept that I never really thought we'd see, but here you go. That's the Bad Karmas and the Curse of Cthulhu. Then we also have over here, we have the Cats of Mont Michel from Raybox Games. This is building off their original system, Escape from Stalingrad Z, which I don't know if is their original system, but that's the one that they definitely started with on crowdfunding, and they've continued to make games in that vein, in that game of a puzzly, kind of a what's the right genre? Dungeon crawler adjacent games, which you're going to be managing all on this book, which you have the split book, which gives you the scenarios you go through, all while managing the enemies, and then yourself as you try to upgrade, advance your characters, your skills, choose your own adventure, this ongoing story, all that stuff as you go through it over here. But the Cats of Mont Michel is going to be the newest and their most popular, which makes sense. It's a bunch of cats. It's a bunch of cats. That's this, like, Mice and Mystics vibe combined with a popular system. Like Escape from Stalingrad Z is well rated on BGG, so they have a well rated system with a very charming vibe that tends to do well between Root and Mice and Mystics and all these games that have these anthropomorphic creatures. Those games tend to do very well in the board game space, and so this one did incredibly well. 659,000 Canadian dollars raised. That's the Cats of Mont Michel from Raybox Games. And then lastly, we have Valheim the board game, because I told you we're bringing 20 campaigns, and we have 20 campaigns. We have Valheim the board game from Mood Publishing, 2 million euro raised. Valheim is going to be coming to you with the creator who brought you Deep Rock Galactic, but this time they have a survival game based on the Valheim survival game, in which you're going to be, well, trying to survive. You're going to be building up your settlement, gathering the various goods you need, taking on the various enemies until eventually you take down the final boss. But this is, I think, the first implementation of a survival game done in a board game form. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if there's like another one that's done a survival style gameplay, not just the theme, but survival style gameplay in a board game form. Does like Robinson Crusoe count? I don't think so. Because it's a very specific kind of a genre in the video game space of these survival crafting games. And I don't think Robinson Crusoe fully counts, although I do wonder, I could see it counting, but I definitely think, well, this Valheim's definitely in that cat. I wonder, I'm trying to think what makes a game a survival crafting game. Robinson Crusoe may well be a survival crafting game. I could hear that argument. Let me know what you think down below. Is Robinson Crusoe a survival crafting game? Is Valheim the second? And maybe there's more. I don't even know how many there are. There's lots of board games. I'm not thinking of all of them at all times. I just make bold claims like Valheim is the first survival crafting game, and then immediately think of one that probably disproves that. Either way, Valheim the board game. If you want to check out Mood Publishing, this is their second tabletop adaptation. Deep Rock Galactic did incredibly well. Was very popular. Very well done. This is obviously a very, very different game. But they definitely have the experience of having done this before with something else and doing it well in a way that was very well received. And so these are your 20 late pledges. 20 late pledges for you to check out in case you are interested in any of those, in case you missed out on them the first time round, or in case anything I said in this relatively short, 20 projects in 20 minutes is relatively short for this channel, so in case anything caught your eye or attention, these are all available to you. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one. There's a virus going around that's making people forget 80s rock bands. Nobody knows the cure.